four, three, two, one.
How are we getting on, folks? And welcome back to another episode of the Irish Racing Hour. I'm your host, Shane Rooney. I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Sharkey, and a very, very special guest coming from stateside, Keri Brion, multiple Group 1 winner now. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good. This is true, yeah.
Yeah. Look at Keri, I'm going to pass you on to Ryan first thing anyway, and he's a couple of questions that he just wants to get out of the way. So Ryan, take it on board.
But don't make it sound like it's a chore, Shane. Get out of the way. No, I just have three questions for you, Keri. They're nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that'll really test you. We'll start with anyway. Obviously, you won the American Grand National. Congratulations on that last week.
Yeah.
That's a big win. Would you say the American Grand National is the pinnacle of American jumps racing?
Yeah, I would say so. Obviously, the races in New York that I was fortunate enough to win as well this summer, they're very special as well. Just the history in Saratoga and everything like that. But our American Grand National, that'd be it. Yeah, it's level weights. Obviously, the mayor had the mayor's allowance, but otherwise, it's level weights, and it's the best of the best. Normally, we have a little bit better of Irish invaders or English invaders. Not like chosen mate. Normally, we have like some real proper horses, but the purse money was dropped this year because of COVID. I mean, I shouldn't complain, but it's normally about 400, and it was only 150 this year. So would have been nice to be 400, but I won't complain.
No, it is a big drop, all right.
Yeah.
What was that feeling like, just winning the Grand National?
I still can't believe it. I still watch the replay and think like that really happened. She's just been a dream come true. I mean, I feel like trainers search their whole lives for a horse like her, and I get her for my first year of training, which is setting the bar awfully high, but she's also what I needed to really take off, and I'm getting, loads of interest and loads of new owners and new horses. And we've just started, starting to restock for next year, the very start of it. And so many people interested in getting horses with me, which has been great, but she's everything. She's everything you could dream of. She really is a dream come true.
Yeah. And obviously, like, you're connected with Irish racing as well. How would you say American racing compares to Irish racing? Would it be more competitive over here compared to over there?
Yeah, it'd be way, way more competitive in Ireland or even England. There's more horses, tougher horses. It's tougher racing. I mean, a great example is Baltimore Bucko was, placing in rated novice hurdles, and he came back here and won a Grade 1. So that kind of just says enough as it is. He was a great little horse, but he was just average in Ireland, and he was one of the best here. So now I think the mare is very special, and she can be top class wherever she goes. But for the most part, Snap Decision, who she's beaten twice, is also a class horse. But after those two, the bar goes a lot lower over here. And yeah, the racing would be easier, but much better money. So.
Yeah. And would you say there's much of a difference between Irish jumps courses and American jumps courses, like facility-wise?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, obviously our Far Hills meeting where the Grand National just was, that is probably one of our most similar courses to an Irish course. But like our flat racing, our Saratoga, Colonial Downs, I mean, those are just 3 or 4 hurdles stuck out there on a flat track, and they just go so fast. There's nothing really like that in Ireland. So I wouldn't say it's too similar, really. And even your smaller meets would be bigger courses and tracks, really, than what ours would be, too, really.
Yeah. And then just finally for me, if you had to pick one Irish track, what would you pick? Like, what's your favorite Irish track?
That's a good one. When I was over, it was during COVID, so I didn't get to like experience the crowds as well. But I have to say for the horse that ran there, and I probably Punchestown, actually. And that's where we hope to take the mare before Cheltenham too. So
lovely. Gonna pass you over to Shane.
Okay.
That wasn't too hard.
Yeah, that's it. But look at Ryan, great questions as always. But Keri, I just want to, I suppose, focus more on you now at this stage. Just general introduction about yourself for people who wouldn't know you or anything like that. Like it's your first year in as a licensed trainer. Just like, what was it like growing up around horses?
Yeah, I rode ponies and did the showing a little bit and everything growing up. I think I started riding when I was 4 or 5, and I did the 3-day eventing a little bit, nothing real serious. And my father actually took me down the road to a flat yard that was right down the road from us growing up, and it said, look, she loves horses, can you give her a job? And I was just like mucking stalls and doing that kind of stuff, cleaning halters, scrubbing water buckets. And but they actually put me up on a racehorse when I was like 12 or 13, and that's when I kind of learned how to exercise racehorses and gallop and work horses. And it started there, and I always knew I wanted to do racehorses. And I was with it was Ronnie and Betsy Houghton. I was with them for 8 or 9 years, and then I was a pole vaulter, and I took a year off and I went to college. I was on a pole vaulting scholarship, but I'm a very unsound horse. I have very bad legs, and I did not stay sound. I came home. One of my good friends was working for Jonathan Shepard at the time, and that's how I got hooked up with Jonathan for the past 11 years up until January when I took over. But I wasn't even into jumps racing until I started working for him. And one day I was just following a couple jumpers out. I was on a jumper and following a couple people out in the field, and he was like, oh, let's pop them over the hurdles. And it was the first time I'd ever jumped a hurdle in my life. And I was like, well, this is really neat. And I said, I want to ride races, and went on to ride races for 4 years, and knew I always wanted to train, but, got that on the resume and worked for Jonathan and learned a lot. And January came and his health had declined, and he decided to retire, and the owner stayed with me, and here we are 10 months later.
Yeah, look at that's it is a great story. Like, and just like talking about, say, working your way up through the ranks in Shepherds, like what did it mean, say, for you, for him to be able to pass the reins and say, look, I trust this girl, I know she knows what she's doing, she's going to be a great trainer?
Yeah, funny enough, it didn't exactly go that way. I won't get into all the nitty gritty details, but Jonathan's health had declined, and mentally he hadn't been great for the last really year and a half. And the owners all knew that. And, we kind of kept that. We were leading trainer in 2020, and, he hadn't been in the barn that whole year, but, still his training program, still all of that. And it was great to be, get him the champion trainer's title that year. But his wife kind of made the decision that was it, and probably the right decision for sure, but blindsided me. And as I said, I won't go into all the details, but tried to send all those horses elsewhere, tried to get the owners to send them elsewhere. I had to really fight. In saying that, the owners never wavered. I had the greatest people in the world supporting me, and they know that I had basically been training those horses for the last 2 years, and all of them I picked out myself. So it was very, very stressful because I was in Ireland and this was all happening in America. And I'm thinking, I've worked so hard and have, gotten this group of incredible horses. And, one day I'm like, screw it, I'm just not even going to worry about it. Then the next day I'm like, I have to credit James Doyle was like, you have to get your shit together. You can't let this, you've worked too hard, and kind of did. It was right around Christmas, I remember. And I was so lost. It was a week of proper depression, I'd say. And then I just decided, no, I'm not going to let this go this way. And, I know, even though I couldn't speak to Jonathan, I knew he would want it to go this way. No matter what other people were saying, I knew what he'd want. And, in fairness, the owners were just fabulous. And my assistant at the time, Amber, she took the horses to Fair Hill, where I am now. And a good friend of mine, Niall, he had the barn, he ran into stalls to me, and, it worked out, but it was not simple. And like I said, I don't like to talk about all the negatives that went into it, but I do want people to know that I wasn't just handed this on a silver platter. It was really tough for a couple months there. But it worked itself out. It's all the people that were trying to get the horses off of me. I can only thank them now, because look.
Yeah. Well, sure. Look at, like, you took so many, like you said, like, there's so many like nitty gritty negative bits, like, and you turned them into so many positives in the space of a couple of months, like, and like, that alone.
I want our sport, like, for American racing, it's a small sport, and I want it to grow. And the last thing we need is a scandal of me really blowing my mouth about everything that has happened and what trainers were. Doesn't matter, right? People have seemed to, I'm kind of a new face and I'm younger, and I get that. And there's been a lot of flat owners in America that have come to me and been interested. And like, I have Atlantic friends that brought the horses over from England to run. And I've gotten so much publicity that's been so great for the sport, not just myself, but the sport. And that's what my main objective is. It's not to throw stones or it doesn't matter. I'm here now. And I have the last laugh anyway. I have a barn full of absolute, machines of horses that people dream of training. So I'm just so lucky.
Yeah. Well, sure. Look at, like, that's exactly it. Like, but we just touched on that there now at the moment there, just talking about, say, coming to Ireland. Like, we hear so many stories of, say, owners, say, going to the likes of Cheltenham and Aintree and all that, and giving out about the price of traveling and costs of traveling and all that. But you basically took, I don't know how many horses, and literally shipped them halfway around the world. Like, and in fairness, credit to you, because it takes plenty of balls and plenty of, I think, probably gave you plenty of headaches as well. But it was probably, dare I say, the making of you, say, actually, taking out the license and going, say, to do the business there in America, like, just to get this experience in Ireland here first.
100%. And I think I've learned a ton. I think, everything I learned from Jonathan is great, but I learned a ton from my stint in Ireland for those 4 months, 100%. And look, credit to my owners that funded that and sent the horses over. Obviously they didn't make money, but saying that, we didn't know what COVID was going to look like in America. And we didn't even know if we were going to have a season last year. Fair enough. When I did come back, we did get some racing in. So that was good. But, we didn't know what it was going to look like. So that was also part of their thought process. We bought all these new horses. They're only getting a year older. We're missing out on, we could potentially be missing out on a season. They were bought from Ireland. We took the ones we thought, could make it work. And for the most part, it did. There were 2, I think, that didn't end up making it into the races, just had little issues and whatnot. But for the most part, we did pretty darn good. And obviously, getting the bumper winner and the hurdle winner and that making history, it's good to have it. I've gained respect off of that, I'd say.
Yeah, look at definitely. And even, say, French Light, your first runner in Ireland, like in Clonmel, in deep boggy ground.
And, the worst. I'm walking that track that day and I'm just like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Like,
and he ran a great race.
He ran a great race. He was what? He was second or third, wasn't he?
He was second. You know what the worst part of that was? That was one of the cancellations, and they had retaken entries, and the horse Broomsfield Jeremy, I think it was, that won the race, was not in the race original entries. If the race would have run the week before. But
look at, like, for your first runner in Ireland, like, being so used to American racing and as I suppose what Ryan said, like, it being so much more competitive than what you've been.
Oh, it's so different. And
the ground as well being so much different than probably what French Light was used to.
Oh yeah, the French Light likes. Yeah, French Light did not like that.
No, but like the fact that he still ran second, and it was your first runner in Ireland, you probably didn't necessarily have as great a clue as you probably did leaving Ireland, what you're sort of expecting. It was a great performance, and it was a great way to, I suppose, put your name on the map and, say that you really mean business coming out here with your license.
Yeah. And, the horses really, really did run great. I mean, I'd say the only I mean, Bucko was a winner when he fell at Down Royal at the last, and the mare should have won that day too. In the bumper, she had the worst trip. I mean, beaten by a very good mare. Don't get me wrong, Me Too Please, but I still think, I mean, if she would have just had a little bit of a better trip, she would have won that day. And, the only day I would have said, and it was my fault, was Baltimore Bucko at Gorin. I shouldn't have run him. It was so heavy. That was so heavy. Yeah. He just couldn't get through it. But other than that, I mean, they all ran every time they went out there. I think they all gave a very good account of themselves, but it was, it was fun. I've had, we bought that Scorpion's Revenge in November, and I had him train, and he was a little bit of the secret weapon. So it was kind of cool to come out and do it. He was a long shot first time out, and it was kind of cool to do that first. And then obviously the mare, and the mare, just a fairy tale story starting in Wexford to now, it's great for Irish racing as well.
Yeah, 100%. And just talking about the mare then as well, like she's known to have a few issues and a few quirks. Let's just say there was a race there when she was about 30 lengths clear and she ducked and dived or something like that.
He hit her and she said, "I don't need hit, thanks." And she's look, it's her world and we just live in it. But that's the part of training her, right? I mean, I guess that's what I'm paid to do. I mean, she's not necessarily hard to train, but like it's very much what she feels like doing, and you kind of work everything around her, and how she trains one day kind of depends on what she does the next day. And she's not easy in the mornings. Credit to Richie, he's ridden her for the last 4 months, and that's a big help. He rides her out every day, knows her very well. When the rider change was made to Richie, I think she goes the best for him, and I think that's just mainly because he knows her so well. When Tom was getting on her, he was only riding her if I could get him into school or get him into work, or probably only sat on her a handful of times, whereas Richie's dealing with her quirks every day. The week leading up to Far Hills, we were jogging the wrong way on the track, and then we turned around to gallop, and we jogged half mile back. She jogged a quarter of a mile and just whipped around and took off galloping. It was like, we're galloping. That's just her. You just deal with it. It's her world. So
yeah, definitely. But like from going from that to winning essentially the biggest race in American jump racing, like, and for you as well, especially like the fact that you're only training 10 months as a licensed trainer, like it's the equivalent of the likes of Jake Cohn or Sam Ewing, or I don't even know, the likes of Jordan Gainford going out and winning an Irish Grand National, or the likes of the flat claimers and all that going out and winning an Irish Derby in the first year. Like, just does not happen. And the fact that you've done it, it's like, what was the celebrations like? I know, look, with COVID and everything else like that, like, but it must have been.
No, we haven't had a real good celebration yet, to be honest, because we had a couple that night, but like we had to get back home. I have a barn full of almost 40 horses at this stage, and like there's like this weekend is another big weekend. So like we're, right into this. I have Iranistan running in the stake, so we haven't had a chance to like. Now next week there's no racing. So
party on.
Yeah. Come find me.
Party on.
So and we still have to celebrate when I get back to Ireland, because we like, she's like Ireland's mayor, so I have everyone in Wexford. She's the star. So
and actually, talking about that, is the plan to come back to Ireland, say, for the winter, is it?
Yes and no. So not like I did before. I don't have the horses. The horses have campaigned a hard year that, there's no need. I don't have anything to prove at this stage, I don't feel like. But the mayor's coming to Cheltenham. So she's getting a break now. We're just hacking away on her. November 1st, she'll get kicked out for probably like 45 days. Bring her back in before Christmas, start riding her, and, probably send her over sometime after the first of the year. And I'll go over shortly after. Luckily, as long as, touch wood, COVID doesn't spark back up, I'll be able to go back and forth a bit. She'll obviously go to James at Baltimore Stables, where she was made. May as well just send her back. They know how to deal with her too. So, I'll be back and forth, but obviously as we get closer, the plan, I think as of now, looking at the schedule, is probably the Mayor's Hurdle at Punchestown in February, and then on to Cheltenham in March. So
well, sure, look at, and just talking about Cheltenham then as well, has there been many American winners in Cheltenham? Now, I don't think there has there?
No.
I can't remember.
Jonathan was second in the champion hurdle, but with Flatterer. But
yeah, I can't recall any American winners anyway, but
and it was obviously a maiden voyage bringing all those horses over last year, and you didn't really know what to expect, but now I know what to expect, and now I'm actually like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, we're gonna win it, but I wouldn't bring her if I didn't think she could, or I had a chance. I mean, we've done the whole, like, let's see what happens. I know what it's like now. I know what it takes. Mr. Moorhead may buy a horse or two. We've actually bought one 3-year-old turning 4-year-old from Tom Malone, actually, and we might buy another one or two that I might train while I'm over there too. Yeah. Sort of same kind of thing as her and Scorpion's Revenge, but we will see how that goes. But definitely the mare. But yeah, I think I asked Davey Russell what he thought after the American Grand National.
Yeah,
and he said he wouldn't mind riding her. So
no. there's literally no better man that knows the ropes in Cheltenham anyway now than Davy Russell at this stage. I think he's the oldest, he's one of the most experienced men around Cheltenham now at this stage. Now that Ruby Walsh and Barry Gertie and all them have retired, so
but in all seriousness, like he did say rider, but on that aside, I mean, I asked him, do you think I'm crazy? Or he goes, no, I don't. I think, and I don't. I mean, I think if I didn't have her, she would have been sold to Gordon or Willie or Henry or any of those guys, and she'd probably be getting ready for the Mayor's Hurdle. So
yeah, definitely.
I don't think it's that crazy. To be honest, I think early betting after I went on Nick Luck, they added her, and she's 16-1. I'd say if Willie or Gordon trained her, she'd probably be 6-1.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. So, which is fine. I'm just saying, I do think she genuinely has a shout. It's not like you're just, we were toying with Winston C last year, but that was just to take a horse to Cheltenham. That wasn't to try to win at Cheltenham. Like she has a proper chance, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And look at when you have the horse to do it, you may as well do it. Like, there's no point. You
never know, right? She's basically done everything she can do here. She's won 3 of the 5 grade 1s that are offered in American jump racing. And the plan would be, I mean, this is obviously long-term and they're horses, so anything can happen, but God willing, we get to Cheltenham and she runs. She comes back here, and Nashville is the end of May, which is the Iroquois, which is 3 mile weight for age grade 1 as well. That'd be where she would go. And then she go to the summer racing. So
yeah, definitely. And like, even say for, I suppose, a broodmare prospect, like if a winner in Cheltenham over in America would be big bucks.
Amazing. I mean, but the best part about, so Mr. Moorhead is a massive, breeder. He has an operation, and I mean, we've talked about the thought of breeding her hopefully it's not anytime real soon, but when it's time. I mean, he's even toyed with the idea of sending her overseas to get her in foal to something over there and bringing her back here, foaling out something by one of your proper stallions even. But yeah, she's 1 in a million, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. And Keri, I just want to touch on, I suppose, one side of the owner's aspect going to another side of the owner's aspect. I suppose you're going from the top of the range to, I suppose, the lower scale level, you could say. You started up a racing club there, I don't know how many months ago it is now. How is that going for you, or what are the horses turn out like?
Yeah, so the first horse that we did was How You Tuppence. He was actually bought out of Harley Dunn's yard, and he was a fabulous little horse for us. He hit the board almost every time he ran up to breaking his maiden. He was always right there, was paying his way the whole way, and then won at Colonial Downs, gave us some thrill. He unfortunately did come out of that with a little bit of an injury. He's out for the rest of the year, but he'll be back next spring. So to be fair, he probably, even if he wasn't, we probably would have given him the fall anyway. He had run hard and gave us a lot of action. He was a great little horse. So then off of that, I've gotten another horse, Going Country, who's actually running tomorrow, making his debut. He came from Baltimore Stables. Really like him. Serious pedigree on him. He's a brother to Pair of Brown Eyes. He comes from the pedigree of Sam Crow. Yeah, he's real nice.
Very nice.
I know him from he's a product of Sureview, which is Pat Doyle, and also Baltimore Stables. They had him together, started his preliminary work at Sureview, ended up at Baltimore Stables, and he just wants good ground. So he just, anytime they had him real close, it would rain, and that's just not what he wants. So he's here now and he's doing well. I'm not going to say he's a certainty tomorrow, but I'd say long term he's going to be a really nice horse and a fun horse for the club. So we have him now, and if he can jump up and run well tomorrow, and he'll probably get one more run into him before the end of the year, we'll probably find something else over the winter. So but it's been great.
Like that's it. And especially with these sorts of racing clubs, like they're there for the fun of it, and they're there for like it's there, it's cheap, cheerful, and you get to, experience the life of being an owner.
We have a bunch of people coming tomorrow racing. What I can't wait for is, well, I don't know. I can't wait. I don't know if American Steeplechase Racing is ready for when all the Irish come over that are involved in this. I'm not sure about that, but
we're a wild bunch, all right. I seen there
so that could be something else. That probably won't be till spring, but it's good. Look, I have a couple people that are in, higher percentages, but literally, I sell as small as 1%, selling a whisker. We always joke. And look, it's fine. And, your monthly fee is like $30 a month. And it's fun. And you get to come racing and say you own a horse. And we need to do more of that, more of that in America, get more people involved. The first horse was 30 grand. And this horse, to get him here door to door with currency exchange, was about 75,000. There's enough people in. It's really not expensive. You get enough people involved and you get a really nice horse. And, I'm hopeful that this horse, Going Country, will be good enough to go to some of the premier meets next year. So,
but I suppose like the way these sorts of things work, like the more people that do get involved, the more like helps you say, look at better horses or look at more horses for the club to go.
Right. Especially for those types. And the other thing is you kind of get some people involved, like you get some flat people involved that, want to kind of dabble in it, but maybe aren't hooked yet. And then, the horse goes out and wins and they have the money to spend. They just weren't sure. And then they're like, hey, I want to do this on my own. Like I actually have an owner that had gotten involved with Going Country and then was like, I want to have horses with you as well. And like, we've bought 2 already. So it's working out, but it's good for racing in all aspects. You need the owners that want to go, you need the Mr. Moorheads and the Irv Nailers, but you need all the little guys that want to just have a part in a fun racing club as well,
Yeah, definitely. Keri, I just want to quickly finish up there now, just talking about, say, the staff that you have. You talked about Richie Condon. I think you've a couple more Irish guys over there as well. Like, how important, say, is the Irish, say, part of your team?
I have great staff anyway. A lot of my grooms that look after the horses came from Jonathan's. They followed me, which has been great. So the horses receive top class care as far as the grooming and, attention to detail to their legs and everything like that. My rider's my assistant right now. She started as a rider for me. She's now my assistant, Tatiana. She's brilliant. She's can work, school, do everything, and keeps everything running on the ground, which, as the stable's growing, which it is very fast, I don't have to worry about so much. And I have Richie over now, and Richie's the only Irish I have right this minute in my yard. I have plenty knocking the door down wanting to come over, but Richie has been a huge asset. I have Richie and I have Parker Hendricks, who's my apprentice, and he's brilliant. And the two of them have just been, I made the decision. There was obviously other things that went into Richie getting onto the Mean Queen, but there were some things that went on, and I just made the decision that those 2 boys, Richie and Parker, were going to be, they're in every day. They're the ones doing the hard work, and that, they're going to be my riders going forward. And it's worked out great. Parker's ridden winners for me. Richie's ridden winners for me. Obviously Richie stepped up with the mare, and, he puts the hard work in with her, and it shows on the race course. And it's great that think back to, I called him up, won a race at Cheltenham. I called him up and said, you want to come school French light? I need a rider at Ferry House. And here we are. He's won the American Grand National for me now. Like, it's a small world, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
But,
definitely. Keri, just to finish up, I want to ask you one more question. Looking back in your life in the industry now, what one piece of advice would you give to that same self that you started off back when you were 12 or 13 or whatever your age you were?
yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing I would say is just like, keep your head down. There were some times there I was very vocal when I was a jockey, and I might have said some things and came out and thought I was doing good for the sport by standing up and, having a voice about certain things. And when in reality, I probably probably made things worse. Even if I was right, I think, I just made things worse. And I've learned now, age helps, but, I would say just, it's a lot better to just kind of keep your head down and be silent about things, even if you do have an opinion.
Yeah. Well, look, that's perfect. But look, we're just run out of time there now. Thanks very much to my co-host Ryan Sharkey for coming on board, and as well as that, especially Keri Brion for joining us from stateside. We've actually finally gone stateside, lads. It's great. But
I'm the first. I've made history again.
yes, 100%. But for those of you that would be willing to help us out keeping this podcast going, we leave a link in the description below for our Patreon. It's only €10 a month. Basically what that does is it helps us, keep this podcast going and keep the funding just while we try and find a bit of sponsorship or whatever like that. We haven't found any sponsorship yet, but hopefully coming up on our year birthday, we're going to be a year old now in the next couple of weeks. We might be lucky enough to get some sort of sponsorship, but like I said, €10 a month, you'll get tips from myself and Ryan every day. As well as that, you'll be entered into monthly giveaways, WhatsApp groups, all the likes. This month's giveaway is a lovely t-shirt in whatever colors you want. Could even get it in the Mean Queen, if that is your fancy. But look, it's been great. Keri, thanks very much for coming on board.
Yeah,
we'll see you all next week.
All right.
Thanks very much, Kurt.
Yep.